Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. I'm back with my Friday comic book review video, and I have a little confession to make about this week's video. This isn't the first time I've recorded this. I already had filmed a Friday comic book review video for you. I uploaded it last night while I was sleeping, scheduled it to go out today, roughly around lunchtime, and I stopped it from going out. The reason was that I didn't think it was good enough, and I didn't think I was actually being true to myself. I didn't even have a pick of the week, because my personal pick of the week this week is kind of so left field that I just thought no one's going to get why I like this issue so much. Everyone's expecting it to be this. Everyone's pick of the week is going to be this. And if I pick this particular issue, am I just kind of going along with the herd instead of being true to myself? And it was the same with a lot of books this week, that I was kind of holding myself back from saying things that I know could put people's backs up, be misconstrued. But then I just thought this morning, this is bullshit. This is my channel. This is where I tell you what I thought about the books, what I think in my own inarticulate way. I'm not the greatest speaker by any means, and often I trip over words and it comes out wrong, but it is from here. It is from my heart. I love my passion for comics, and I always will. And I have to kind of step up to the plate now, where I have to say exactly what I feel. So with that, I'm kicking off this week with Bitch Planet issue number 4. This book suffers a great deal, I believe, and it suffers from its agenda and its politics. It has been overshadowed by its feminist stance. We've had a big long break between issue 3 and issue 4. Now, we were told that issue 3 was a break in the storyline to give the writers and the artists a chance to catch up with the main story, and so it would come out regularly. However, this was not the case, and if you read the kind of editorial at the back, GhostCritic explains why. And it was because of a particular shower scene that takes place in this book, and that she had to rewrite it and kind of set the scene several times to get it right, to stop the male-gazed eye. And I have trouble with that, because basically what GhostCritic has done, however kind of grand and positive the message she is trying to put forward here, she has in effect wrote and with her artist drawn themselves into a corner. There is a great deal of female nudity in this issue, and that is not the problem here. Obviously, GhostCritic has found it a problem. She didn't want these scenes to be sexually, I guess, titillating in any way, despite the fact that she has within her storyline a guard looking through a peephole, being allowed to peep through that hole by the women in the shower. And therefore we have this already voyeuristic nature that's not only happening within the issue, but from us as the reader. Why this had to be set in the shower, I don't know. It was supposedly the safest place to plan and talk about this big megaton event, this all-male sport that the women have been asked to put a team together to, which they will undoubtedly lose at, or are destined to lose at. And there is this kind of ironic little subtitle at the top of the page as they're walking into the shower, the obligatory shower scene. And it just feels like GhostCritic is trying too hard here. and the message is getting too mixed up, and also the storyline itself with its agenda and with its politics. And I use the word agenda and politics in a positive way. I am not using the word agenda, as in so often is, in a negative light. Let's be honest here, if it wasn't for the essays at the back of this book, this is, at its base, a homage to the kind of sexploitation movies of the 70s, a sci-fi sexploitation movie in comic form. And it's a great book, but sometimes by the end of this book, I kind of briefly read. I don't really delve into the essays, but I kind of read and skip through it a little bit. I actually forget what's happened in the story because I'm having the feminist agenda, the feminist politics rammed down my throat with these essays. If they were being removed, this wouldn't be such a hyped up, talked about, controversial book, because it is what it is. It's a homage to those movies of the 70s. However, if you want to see them as kitschy, if you want to see them as exploitative, they were of a time, and this is paying homage to them, whether they like it or not. Again, I've hardly talked about the story because there isn't much to talk about. There is this huge drawn out shower scene, if not one, there's actually two, where they discuss their plans and how they're going to win this seemingly unwinnable game. Now, they've talked kind of privately while they were running around the track. Why could they not have had this conversation then? Why did there have to be that element of lesbianism there? Again, not a problem with it, but you are putting on the page the thing that titillates men. It's sad, I know, but watching two women kiss turn men on. For some reason, I don't know if it works the same way for women. Do women find two men kissing a sexual turn on? I'm sure there are some women out there that do find it. But at the base of it is, nudity, whether it's male or female, is sexually arousing to a great general populace. There's no denying it. So to what is essentially kind of have a moan and a whinge because, oh, I found it so difficult to portray a non-sexual naked scene set in a shower with women kissing each other. Come on. You know what you're doing here, and it's getting a bit tiresome. The story can stand up on its own. You can push forward that the feminism, politics, and in its agenda within the story, and do it well without losing your readers through the storytelling. I mean, I'm still continuing to read it. I do enjoy it, but it's instantly forgettable by the next month. I'd forgotten everything that had happened previously. That's Bitch Planet. Multiversity, Grant Morrison's epic run comes to an end with Multiversity issue 2. The kind of bookend to the first one that started his whole series off. And I think this does need several rereads, if not the whole series, which I have enjoyed greatly. There has been really no low points. There hasn't been an issue that I disliked at all. There is some interesting subject matter to, you know, get your teeth into, and if you so wish, go and research more about the characters that he's used, that he's brought back from, you know, eras gone by. However, with this issue, I think it is the weakest of the whole series, basically because it suffers a great deal from too much information. There's too much to take in here as we flip from Earth 1 to Earth 31 to 52. All the Earths we're flipping through, and it's just a whole kind of crazy, chaotic mess. And I got confused about halfway through. What is actually happening? What is going on? What has gone on by the end of this? Was the multiverse saved? What Earths died? What did all these heroes that come together in this like giant spaceship from all the places, from all the other Earths that were gathered together, did they actually do anything, or did they just sit in that ship and wonder why they were there? There is this idea that there is a bigger baddie than what was his name? Is it was it Nixon? Uto and Nixo or something like that, and the Gentry. There's someone bigger than that, and it's a figure in the shadows, claiming that right now this isn't the end, but I will make sure it's the end, and you don't know who it is. I mean, is that bigger baddie in a kind of metaphorical sense? Is it us? And is it Grant Morrison commenting on the kind of never-ending loop of comic books, where we have our heroes in a situation of danger, there is action, and then invariably there is victory. But it always then comes a full loop and we're back to danger again, and there's action and a victory, and ad nauseum. Like I said, I did like this series much more than I expected to. I got a lot more out of it than I expected to. I expected to be so lost throughout it, but I enjoyed it that much that it did make me go and look up these characters, some that they were based on. I loved the Multiversity Guidebook, and as so many of us have said, we would love to see even like mini-series of these other Earths, just to know more about these characters and see them in action. That was a highlight for me of this series, and of course I made that book my pick of the week. So yes, Multiversity kind of ended on a low rather than a crescendo high for me. Morning Glories, issue number 45, and obviously this title, especially if you're wanting to come into this book because there is no jumping on point, it does suffer a great deal from convoluted storylines, multiple time travelling flashbacks, and of course, you know, you're constantly scratching your head on who are actually the good guys here and who are the bad guys. But it is a sufferance I will endure until the end, because I've come to the point now, and not that I believe this is going to last till about 60 issues, and it's kind of like, I'm here now, I want to see it through to the end. It's not a case of that. It's like, I need to know the answers, and I swear to God, Nick Spencer, if you don't give me answers to everything you've got in here, I'm coming after you. I really am. This was actually a very interesting storyline. I enjoyed it a great deal, much more than past ones, because, you know, there is a kind of straightforward storyline here where we look at Jade and her supposed resurrection powers. We saw at the end of an issue a while ago that she brought her mother back to life. But what we see is the kind of fallout from that, where her mother shuns her for bringing her back. It's a work of the devil. You're not my daughter anymore. And for many years, they literally, they don't talk. The mother doesn't even want to look at her daughter anymore. And while this is all going on, it's interspersed with the present day, where we have Gulame trying to persuade Jade to bring Hiseo back from the dead, because Hiseo's brother, twin brother, I think it's Jun, wants to sacrifice Jade because he thinks that will bring his brother back. So Gulame's trying to save Jade, but at the same time bring back his lover, and stop Jade from getting sacrificed. But Jade says, is adamant that she can't do it and she doesn't want to do it, and her reasons for it, even before I'd read the kind of back material in here, reminded me of Buffy. The idea that Willow brought Buffy back from the dead, and we found out much later on in the series that Buffy was probably in heaven, and Willow had basically dragged her from a place of peace, tranquility, where she was happy, and dragged her back to this horrible world of monsters and demons, and this was now her hell. And there is that element of it here. As Jade says, the people who come back, they don't want to come back. They were happy where they were. It never works out right. I'm very, very interested to see where this story goes. I love this idea. I love the concepts that Nick Spencer's using here with the whole telling stories about their characters from flashbacks. We've seen it used so many times in movies and TV series that, you know, comic books are going to use that as well. So great stuff, great issue. If you wanna read Morning Glories, don't even think of jumping in on this. You've got to start from the beginning. They're Not Like Us, issue number 5, and on Wednesday I did say that I had my concerns about this book in that it lacked any kind of story progression, that we are very firmly based looking at the characters and who they are, where they've come from, rather than moving the story on. After this issue, I'm kind of okay with it, but just for right now, because this title is going to have to move on at some point, because there is only a finite amount of characters here to be introduced to. So what we have here is basically the origin of the Voice, this kind of leader of misfit mutants, I guess. They've all got these kind of powers. They just don't use them for good, like the X-Men say, or the Justice League. They're not the kind of capes and cowls and wearing fancy costumes. These are young people who have had a pretty bad life, who have had tragedy befall them at every turn. And like I said, we find out why the Voice is so cynical and angry at the world. And our writer, Eric Stevenson, he just almost manages to make you feel sorry for him. I mean, however, you know, the scenes cut between this is him taking a couple of the other group to go and kill Sid's mum and dad, so that kind of balances things out a little. The book ends so abruptly with a suicide and a great wallop to the head, and it is just like you've been knocked unconscious, as the final page is just complete black. And I kind of turned the page expecting something else. I was like, oh, that is it. But it's a kind of good cliffhanger ending, and I'm very excited to know what's going to happen next with They're Not Like Us. It's a kind of superhero book that doesn't have superheroes in it. We come to the penultimate issue of Alex and Ada, issue number 14 next month. It's the final issue, and does it look good for these two? Well, to begin with, we are seeing these two guys on the run. They've been found out. The police have raided the house, but they're already on the lam. They've stolen a car, changed registration plates. But the thing is, it all feels a bit like a fun adventure to them. They're treating it much like a holiday. They're deciding to leave the country and make their way up to Canada, and they just seem to be having this incredibly sweet bonding session. They even say themselves as they stop off at a diner that this almost feels like a first date. And it's Jonathan Luna. I know things were looking too good. He's lulling you into this false sense of security where you think, yes, they're going to make it, they're going to live happily ever after. However weird this relationship is between this very advanced and sophisticated robot and an actual human being. But you're thinking, go on, you can do it. But then Luna went and did it. I suppose it couldn't have ended, even though it hasn't yet, any other way. We may get a surprise climax to this story. I just wonder, will we get our happily ever after? So we come to the end, and probably for a lot of you out there, Batman issue 40 was going to be your pick of the week. However, it's not mine. It's not that it was a bad comic at all. This run by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo has been very interesting. I have found myself kind of confused at times, wondering what's going on. I do think you need to have a pretty solid idea and understanding of the kind of Bat mythology and history. But basically, by the end of this issue, you realise Snyder hasn't really done anything that original. He could have really turned this into something surprising, but I have no doubt about what will happen in the future. Going with the story, we have Batman and the Rogues Gallery fighting it out between the Gotham populace, having been infected, trying to get to Joker, but hey, it's been a fake out. Bruce Wayne isn't really under that cowl. It was indeed Dick Grayson, because Bat is headed underground, many feet underground, where I'm presuming this is a Lazarus pit. Help me out here. He's trying to find a cure to this this disease that has ravaged the Gotham populace, and he obviously finds it just in the nick of time. But it's obviously the big obvious fight scene that was going to end this between Joker and the Batman. And as great as it was, I mean, Greg Capullo did an amazing job on the artwork here. There are some gorgeous scenes here. There are the way some of the panels are placed, just look amazing. There is so much to gaze and feast your eyes at. But at the end of the day, it's just a fight scene between Batman and Joker. And I don't think any of us are stupid enough to think Batman or the Joker is dead here. And that's what kind of spoilt it for me by the end, that they kind of went there. I would rather have had the Joker escape. I would have rather had the Batman clinging for his life and maybe being rescued by Penny too. But just to have them seemingly, you know, dying and gone, it's a joke. It's a joke, right? There were some other inconsistencies here. Obviously, the idea that Joker, who was in the middle of Gotham City on a carnival float, surrounded by people from Gotham, and of course our kind of band of heroes and villains, could make it all the way to the real Batman, who's, you know, thousands of feet underground within mere minutes. I don't care whether he thinks these are his tunnels this time or not. He's not that quick. But I was willing to kind of suspend my disbelief for the duration of this book. However, it was what it was. It's not pick of the week material for me. As I said, it probably was for a lot of you out there. Okay, that's it for me this week. I hope you enjoyed my reviews and thoughts and opinions on this week's book. Straight after this video, I'll be putting up my pick of the week, which, if you've seen my Wednesday video, you may have already worked out what it is and been going, really? Yes, really? It surprised me too, so check that out. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section below what you've been reading, what you thought of the books that I picked up this week. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel and want to hear more from me, press the button. You know where it is. Until next week, till another new stack of comic books lands on my table. Have a great weekend, folks. Bye-bye.